All right. How's everyone doing today? Hey, Rockstar. I got a I got a good quote for you today. So the author, Viktor E. Frankl, he once wrote, "To live is to suffer. To survive is to find meaning in the suffering." Ooh, try that thought on for size, Rockstar. By the way, welcome to Hey Rockstar. I am your host, Josafat Emiliano. We got a great show for you today.
And Miguel, do the thing, yo.
One, two, three. One, two, three. Let's go.
Hey Rockstar, welcome. This is a show devoted to bringing value to those interested in starting a side hustle or side business. Whether you're looking to be dual vocational, full-time, part-time, or sometime, I bet our stories will entertain you, encourage you, and empower you to become the rock star of your business and industry.
Woo! Welcome back to Hey Rockstar. Today we have episode 98. We have a very special guest, and I don't want to take too much time away from her because she has an amazing story to share for you. I got to meet Nafsheen back earlier this year. The first time I went to do Tag Talks in Dallas, I got to hear her heart, I got to hear her story. I even got to partake with some of her art. This amazing person has such a great story. Nafsheen, welcome to the Hey Rockstar show. How are you today?
I am doing fabulous, Josephat. Thank you so much for this incredible opportunity, your awesome energy, and this wonderful platform that I get to share my heart and my story.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get ready because you're in for a treat. And you know what? I know a little bit about you, Nasheen, but if you wouldn't mind, would you just let's just start, let's just dive right in, and just share everyone, let us know what's your story.
Well, like all of us, we all have a story, right? So I was born and raised in a very normal Indian Muslim household back in Kenya, East Africa. And I'm the youngest out of four girls. Up until the age of 4, I had a very, normal childhood. And then from the age of 4 until the age of 12, I was severely molested by 2 of my family members not living in my immediate household. And this continued for 8 years of my life, where it got to really be a part of my internal psyche, right? The abuse and trauma manifested in my mind, body, soul in very different destructive ways. I started to gain a lot of weight as a child because our body tends to create safety for itself, and sometimes that weight becomes your safety. I had a lot of learning disabilities, difficulty focusing, not getting attention, having a lot of tantrums, just really, really struggling. And on the outside, I may have seemed like this bubbly, happy child, but on the inside, I was very much damaged. And in the Indian Muslim culture, molestation is not something that is very much, you're not even educated on it. And even if the family members find out, if they happen to, it's always shoved under the rug because the blame normally comes on the woman, not the man. And she's seen as damaged goods. And so my self-esteem was very much broken, or it was not even existent, because you're also considered beautiful in my culture if you're light skinned or skinny. And the fact that I had already started to gain weight was already against me in terms of me having a good self-esteem, or being accepted within the culture or the community. And I didn't have the body to be the woman that's accepted in the culture, nor did I have the intelligence because I was not a straight A student. And so basically, I was the child that would amount to pretty much nothing. So that was my childhood up until the age of 12. And at the age of 12, I was watching Oprah one day. In Kenya, we only got like two channels, and a Kenyan channel and an American channel. And Oprah was talking about what abuse is. So all this time, I thought that it was love, which is what I was being told. And at this time, I realized that what in fact was happening was wrong. And so I started to keep my distance. And now that the people knew that I knew that what was happening was wrong, they instilled a lot of fear in me. So I was in a place of where I was in this body that I hated, and now it was my fault that this happened to me, and I didn't have anybody to talk to because it would be my fault and I would be in trouble. So my only means of survival was to self-mutilate.
Mm.
And so, as graphic as that sound, it's what kept me alive, because I needed something and I needed an outlet to associate with my internal pain. So I caused it externally. So the trauma would be from here on my physical body, which I actually physically felt.
Wow.
And as time went on, the closest person to me was my dad, but food had already become my companion and my drug of choice and my safety at that time. At 18, my dad passed suddenly due to a cardiac arrest, and he was like my best friend. So we were uprooted from Kenya almost immediately and brought to the US. And where I thought, when you're in when you're in Kenya, you're told, oh, there's so many opportunities, and obesity was something that was not even there was no obesity in Kenya. So I was always an outcast because I was overweight.
Mm.
And you're told when you go to America, there's so many programs, people are accepting, there's so many people like you'll find all these options and all that stuff. And as soon as I got off the plane, here I had just lost my dad, and I was coming to a new country, not having even fully processed or grieved my dad's death. And I felt like I didn't belong in my family there. And now I was coming to this new place where I'd be accepted. And one of my family members, as soon as I got off the plane, was like, oh my God, you've gained so much weight. How did that happen? And I'm like, great. I'm not accepted here either. So like, I was just dying on the inside, right? Then we got here, and it was my mom, my older sister, and I, and she got married. My older sister got married and left. And so for the last 25 years, I've been taking care of my mom, being the good Indian Muslim girl that I'm supposed to be. I got a degree in design and photography, but I couldn't pursue that as a career because jobs in that field in my city were not common at that time.
Mm.
But I had to take care of my mom, get the 9-to-5 job, buy her the house, do all the things. So I did a corporate job. I worked at Apple for like 9 years, where my creative soul was dying in a cubicle. And then at the age of 36, I got very, very sick. I was diagnosed with uterine cancer.
Mm.
And that's directly correlated to the abuse, because scientifically, through research and through knowledge I've gained also watching a TED Talk, is that when a woman or a child goes through, specifically for women actually, when you go through any kind of abuse as a child, whether it's sexual, physical, mental, you either end up with heart disease or cancer in your reproductive organs.
Wow, is that right?
Yes, which is exactly what happened, because I carried my trauma in my womb, which is
Okay.
the place that was abused, right? And so this was my moment of enlightenment. And although I had done a lot of work on, I had started to lose weight, and I met an amazing trainer who, she's the reason I'm here doing what I'm doing today, because it was somebody who believed in me. She goes by the name of Tots, and I hope that every Nafsheen out there who's like me gets a Tots in their life, because I wouldn't be who I am today if it was not for her. So I started to work on myself, and I, started losing weight and doing half marathons and all that stuff. But it was because I was being validated externally by somebody else. And that was the only person who always told me, you're doing a good job. You're great job, this and that. And I'm like, wow, nobody's ever told me I'm doing a good job at anything. So I'm going to do this for them and for the external validation. But I was still very abusive towards my body. I hated it. Like, I used to do 6 hours of cardio, and then I used to drink diet tea and binge and purge and be sick for 8 days, and then eat whatever I want, and then drink diet tea again, and then be sick for 8 days again. So it was this really, I was working on myself, but destroying myself at the same time, because it was not from here for me. It was not because I loved myself. It was because I hated myself. So I was diagnosed with cancer. I went through treatment, and then I went through therapy, and I went through a hormonal treatment. It was kind of like chemo, the same effects. And I got better. And then I was diagnosed with cancer again, which it came back more aggressively this time. So this was the moment that was my awakening moment. And I was four weeks away from surgery, and they couldn't tell me what stage I was at until the day of surgery, whether it had spread all over my body, or if it was contained in my uterus, or what. They didn't know. But I was sitting in bed one night, and just rubbing my belly and thinking why this is happening to me. And I heard a voice from inside myself. And at this moment, it always gets me a little emotional, because I feel like it was every cell of my body just screaming and yelling at me to love myself. I just heard my body telling me, I just need you to love me. And that's all I need. And I took a deep breath, and they say the wound is where the light enters you. So this was my wound, and this was the light that came through. And I told myself then, first of all, I knew that I was going to be okay. I knew that once I had my surgery, I was going to be fine, because whatever this was, it needed to physically exit my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I know that it's going to be okay once this part is taken out, although I'm never going to be able to be a mother or have kids. And that was very, very challenging for me in my culture, because we're taught that you're supposed to be married and your job is to have children. So that was one thing that's being taken away from me. And that later I would find out the magical reason why that happened. And then the other thing was, I told myself that I don't know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, but I have to use my art to make a difference in the world. Because up until this point, I felt like if I die, I have nothing to show of my life. I've made no difference. I've not helped any people. I've not left my mark in this world. And growing up, watching my dad, he was an amazing individual who literally helped thousands and thousands of people through charity. And he made a lot of difference, and he saved a lot of lives. And here I was thinking, oh, you've reached 36 and you haven't done anything. So at that moment, I was like, when I get through this, which I know I'm going to get through this because I already know I'm fine. And once the surgery happens, I'll be okay. I have to use my art to help heal the world somehow, because that was the gift I was given. It was the gift of creativity and the gift of connecting with human beings. At a very young age, even when I was in school, at age 6 or 7, all my friends used to come to me for help. So I knew that I had some part of empathy and healing within me. And I just knew I was good at creating, and I was good at connecting with people. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but that's what I put out. So here we are. now. I am now a speaker. I do energy healing. I'm a published author. I just was on national TV for a little segment, and all came about from the little kid who couldn't amount to nothing. And so I use my art to help people transform their trauma into something beautiful.
Yes, yes, and that's where I got the little title from. She uses trauma. Oh, how does it? How do how do we write it down? It was off of what you sent me
Yeah.
on thing. But first of all, before I get to that, just thank you for sharing your story. And for those of you who are listening, in, I'm sure at first you're probably like, oh boy, we went straight into heavy, but it's not necessarily heavy because there is light at this at the end. I love what you said that the light enters through the womb.
Yeah,
That's
the wound is where the light enters you, and it's a quote by a famous Persian poet. You probably know him. His name is Rumi.
I have heard that name.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with all
yeah.
the work that they do, but I have heard that name. Um, but still, it's just a beautiful, I guess, a good way to see um, the good in what maybe at the moment doesn't feel good, doesn't is not fun at all.
No.
Um, but I appreciate you sharing this and just getting to hear it again. And especially the parts where you started overcoming and the aha moments you had where you know what I also love when you said the two main things is that first of all um, I'm gonna get through with this. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna get the operation and we're gonna move forward. But then also that sense of desire for purpose. Like, but when I get through with this, what legacy am I gonna leave behind? What am I going to do with my gift that I've been given to help others or to take care of others? How I'm going to, and that's started the creative process. So let's harp, not harp, but let's hit on that. When did you start seeing just a need for your ability or who, if you don't mind, you don't have to drop any names or anything, but when did you start noticing that you had that ability to use your art to help others heal?
So first of all, for me, okay, when I'm creating, when I'm making art or taking photographing somebody and creating beauty out of what I see on a daily basis,
Mm.
it helps me heal whatever parts in me that I feel are unworthy or ugly or not meant for love. So when I'm creating beauty on a canvas, it's always healing a part of me. When I'm photographing somebody who particularly doesn't like to be photographed or think that they're not going to look good, and then they see the image and they're like, oh my God, I've never seen myself in this way. It makes my inner self-esteem grow a little bit higher. The parts of me where I was told that I'm not beautiful, I see my beauty in them and theirs in me, because essentially we're all connected, and our vision, especially for women, of ourselves is so broken because of societal standards, right?
Yeah.
And so when I realized that creating beauty out of things or out of ourselves, helps me heal, then it made me realize that everybody has a story. And what if we could take, because we all think that pain is an ugly thing and we want to run away from it, but the pain is actually your healing. If you're going through something and you don't go through the pain, you're never going to heal. You have to feel it. So the pain is the healing. And if we take that pain and embody it and make it into something beautiful, we can transcend it so much higher.
Mm.
And so I'm like, okay, I can create art, and I can create art out of things that people think are ugly, which is their pain and their trauma. And I can take that to different heights and make it beautiful. And so I started playing with the idea in my mind of how I can reach people and collect stories of their trauma, from their trauma into their triumph, and how I can document that journey and create a painting of them in their power. And so I'm sure you saw my story of Becca, and this is such a funny story because I met her brother in jury duty, and we were in a 12-week murder trial together as jurors. Okay, But
Wow.
she was following me online, and she just messaged me, and she's like, hey, I'm Dan's sister. And I'm like, hey, Becca, and she's like, let's meet up for coffee. I like your vibe. I didn't even know her story at that time. So we met up for coffee, and she told me the story, and I'm like, your story is similar to my story. We've both been through abuse. And I'm like, I'm looking for someone whose story I can document as a first of what I want to do for transforming adversity into art. And she just happened to fall in my lap. And so I got her story, and then I photographed her, like 5 photography sessions, recreating all her trauma with makeup and imagery and music and all of that. And then I made a painting of her at the end, and I put that all into a video together. And then from that transpired other stories of other people.
Wow. And that's cool. I didn't know she was like one of the first people you got to work with,
Yes, she
but
was. Yeah.
I actually got to meet, for those of you
Yeah.
who don't know this, I got to meet Rebecca back when, or I think I'll call her Becca, back
Yeah. In October.
in California,
Hmm.
at the when I got to go MC over there, and yes, she shared her story, and now I see she's very active with other people too,
Hmm.
that were there. But anyway, but no, that is such a a powerful thing to be able to to give people how was the word well, just power, get them ownership of that pain. They no longer feel like they're out of control. Like, no, this is something that helps tell my story. This is something that helps add value to my
Right.
experience. Oh
Right.
man, that is great. Wow, that is amazing. So, you know, now that you can we talk about becoming an author? Can we talk about those kind of things?
Absolutely.
'Cause those are all parts of the things that you're now doing. When I met you, you were already an author. You were a published author. I even saw the video where you were excited when your books came in, which is congratulations for that.
Thank you.
I just got the title of mine, so I need to start working on my memoir eventually. But so what was that experience like? Did you ever consider yourself writing a book? Was it fun? Was it hard? Whatever you want to share.
I never considered myself writing a book, to be honest. But from the time that I have started telling my story and speaking, first of all, I never thought I would be a speaker because as self
Really?
as self conscious as I was, and being a woman, chubby, standing on stage, that was just not something that I ever wanted to do. But I was empowered by another woman speaker. She met me in an elevator and she told me, "You're going to be a speaker," and I'm like,
Mm.
"No," and she's like, "No, you're going to be a speaker." So, and then when I started speaking, the first time I spoke, there was not it was 30 women at this conference, and there was not a dry eye in the audience. And that's the moment I knew that I have to continue to tell my story for other people to heal. But every time I tell it, I heal.
Mm. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So every time I tell my story, I heal a little bit more. And so that transpired into me creating a coaching program. And then the coaching programs transpired me into speaking more. And as I spoke more, I learned that to build authority, it's great to write a book. And like my cousins, friends, family, they're like, "Oh, you should write a book about your story." And I'm like, "Who's going to buy my book? Like, what?" So then eventually I want to write my own book, but I saw this opportunity with Les Brown, which
Mm.
Raul brought forward as a stepping stone into me getting the first step into publishing my work. And although it's a collaborative book, but I'm on this book cover with my name on it, and it says international best-selling author, and that's a pretty cool thing that I never saw myself doing.
Well, congratulations. And I forgot yeah, that's the trajectory that you went through. First, you're a speaker,
Hmm.
and then you developed a program to help coach those who are going through the trauma and healing. Um, and then now the author, that's the trifecta, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what? As a speaker, that's something that I enjoy doing. Let's pick at you a little bit on that one. How was it the first time? When was the first time you were able to share your story on the stage?
September of 2017.
You have to remember the date.
September of 2017. And like, I'm going to correlate my physical weight with this because I want to tell you the importance of healing the internal weight to let go of the physical weight, because this is all part of my
Mm.
journey, the trauma. And so I was terrified of standing on the stage because I was about 320 pounds at that time, my highest weight being about 375 when I was in college. And I'm like so uncomfortable in my body, and I have to stand in front of people and they're all going to stare at me, because I've been within the culture, I've been body shamed so much. So it's
Mm.
really challenging to be in on the stage. But it was all women, and so that made me feel comfortable. And the lady that told me you're going to be a speaker was there, being my mentor, telling me get up on stage and tell your story. It was terrifying, and I had like sheets and sheets and sheets of ABC on how much I rehearsed to say the story. But as I stood there, I didn't even refer to the sheets. I just started talking, and I just started telling my story without looking at the sheets. And as tears were streaming down my face, tears were streaming every other woman's face. And halfway through it, it was no longer like fear or nervousness, and I wasn't even conscious of the fact that I'm overweight standing in front of these people. I was just speaking.
Mm.
And the most profound thing for me in that moment, and maybe I haven't actually really shared this publicly, but what's coming for me right now intuitively, is that being the youngest child in my culture, in my family, I was never heard
Mm.
because I'm the youngest. You know, she doesn't really know. We have to teach her, right? We have to teach her everything. Not that people were mean or that my or anything, but my opinion just wasn't as important. So I was never heard. And even when I had something to say, it wasn't that taken that importantly. So now I'm at this place where I'm being heard. Like people are there to listen to me. Like my voice actually matters. So I've never really thought about it that way actually. I feel like speaking has given me a way to be heard, which I never got within my upbringing. So thank you for bringing that epiphany to me at this moment.
That's great right there. No, that's the
So
importance of
yeah, so
healing on a podcast or a
yeah,
show.
yeah, it's live healing right now, right? Live epiphany right now, and so I subconsciously I feel like that's what has been happening for me. Every time I speak, I'm being heard. Right now, I'm being heard. My voice is being heard, right? And so I feel like that's what speaking gave me. And then I didn't know that I had enough knowledge and enough content to be able to even create a program. And the same person who taught me that I'm going to be a speaker, she told me you should create a women's empowerment program. And I'm like, for what? And she's for coaching. I'm like, no, I'm here to promote my photography skills. And she's like, no, you're going to be a coach. And I'm like, okay, we'll see about that. But here I am. So that's the speaking took me to the coaching took me to the writing.
Oh, so in it all, you're creating more and more valuable just material. I don't want to say material, but just opportunities for people who need to find your message to find it. You're making yourself heard. You're making yourself more accessible, I
Yeah,
guess, through multiple
yes. I
streams.
I guess my goal is to help people realize that no matter how great your trauma or whatever it is, it's there because it's trying to elevate your soul to the next level that it needs to go to. It's just a tool in your journey. So as I was doing my healing, I don't know if you're familiar with who Wayne Dyer is, but when I was when I suffered enough and I didn't want to suffer anymore, I was listening to one of his videos,
Mm.
and he said that your soul is going to give you the experiences you need in order to fulfill its purpose. So if your purpose is to be a healer, you're going to go through experiences that you need to heal so you can be that healer. So when I realized that, I'm just like, oh, whatever happened to me as a child or whatever trauma I faced, it was not for me to be small or for me to like be a victim. It was just a tool in my journey for me to transcend so I could do the work that my soul is here to do.
I get that. I get. What would you say the name of that person was?
Wayne Dyer.
Wayne Dyer. Oh,
Hmm.
totally misspelled that. um, yeah, no. That's, and I'm gonna share some of the things that I'm working on because, and I've had this discussion with other people when it comes to failures, like failed life plans.
Hmm.
How we sometimes identify, at least here in the American culture, we tend to identify ourselves with our occupation, our life plan, or whatever you're working on. Like I am the artist, I am the speaker, I am instead of I'm Josafat Emiliano, but but especially during the pandemic, a lot of
Hmm.
people when they were losing their careers or losing their plans or losing what they identified so long with, they suddenly found themselves in a a cesspool of failure, and a lot of people they since their identity was now failed, they didn't know how to detach from that. And I love how you said that the pain is something that I mean don't ever identify yourself or try your best not to identify yourself with it, but learn to see it as the tool that it is to help elevate you to what is next,
Right.
to help move you to the real you or the you that could be possible.
The real you, exactly. I mean, now if I go through a trauma, I'm like, awesome. What is it going to teach me? I'm like, what is it going to teach me so I can help people with this thing that they're struggling with, right? So with everything that I went through, I can help people with sexual abuse, with low self-esteem, with procrastination, perfectionism, weight loss, body image, inner child healing, like all this stuff, right?
Hmm.
These are all gifts that came as a form of pain, but as you transcend them, they become your gift.
Oh man, that was a cute saying that it just slipped my mind. Well, if it comes back, I'll remember. But it has something about that, like you're overcoming the demons or whatever level. But whatever, it's I guess not that important. But no, it's so true. One of our mentors, or you mentioned his name, Raul. I
Mhm.
love when he uses this quote. I mean, I'm gonna have to write down and probably tattoo it on myself, where it says, "Your wisdom is not common knowledge,"
Right,
and
right,
it's something we pay the price with, price
right,
for, with experience, with
right,
tears,
right.
with grinding the teeth. But we can use it now to help others so that there's uh, I'm not sure which book, could be a proverb, could be yeah, we'll just say it's a proverb written out there that it says that the fool learns by experience, but the wise learns by the fool's experience.
Right.
And I guess I could say that I don't want to call people foolish, but like people will learn by pain. But
Hmm.
those who want to learn and avoid the pain can learn from our pain to move
Right.
forward. But
Right.
anyway, let's not harp on that right now. Let's not camp there too much. I think we got that point across,
Hmm.
and I thank you for running with me on that aspect. So now you are growing, you are building. What have been some just some challenges as a business owner, as an entrepreneur? Let's just talk about a few tactical things or a few not technical things or whatever. Starting your own business because we do cater to that crowd who wants to learn how to become their own um, coach or their own author or their own speaker. What have been just maybe one or two challenges that you first met when you started on this entrepreneur journey that you don't mind sharing?
So first of all, there's the imposter syndrome, right?
Yes.
Where you think you're good enough, and you have, if you're good enough, and if you have everything that it takes to actually do the work that you're doing. So I mean, I still face this from day to day. When a new client signs up, I'm like, oh, okay, that's awesome. I got a new client, but like, am I going to be able to give her what she wants? Like, do I have everything that I need? And then I'll have one session and I'll have two sessions, and she's had amazing breakthroughs, and I'm like, okay, thank you, universe, for validating that I'm doing the right thing. But our we're programmed like that. We're programmed that we're fear of not being good enough. So that's one of
Mm,
the things that I found challenging, and sometimes it still creeps in. And the other biggest thing for me, I feel, is reaching the people who need what I have. who want what I'm offering, and how to reach those people. One, because the topic in which I offer healing is very heavy,
Mm,
and most cultures and people find shame in admitting to their trauma of this sort.
yeah.
So, which is why I feel it is much even more essential for me to continue speaking about my story in as graphically open way as possible, because um, the more shameful things happen to you, the more you tend to keep them to yourself, which leads to mental illness, suicide, all these things that we don't talk about. And I just want to make it, especially in my culture, to be okay to talk about these things.
Wow. You just kind of answered a question that I've been dealing with on my own journey, especially as I continue to share my story. Because one of the key things I add in my story, I share it to like a public, like let's say the platform that we did Tag Talks, I can share it there, but I also get invited to go speak at churches, and I
Mm-hmm.
will take this out simply because I don't want people in the crowd to listen. Um, to be like turned away. And now think about it, it makes sense because you don't know who's struggling with that, and it's a sexual thing.
Right,
Like you don't want to talk about sex in the church. Sometimes it's a
right.
taboo, but but sometimes outside of the stage it's okay. But it's something that needs to be shared. This is something that I went through in this season as a
Mm.
church person or as a whatever. Um, and people need to hear that. But no, thanks for saying that. That I just need to be upfront. Wow, you just helped me out with my storytelling.
We're healing each other in this session, right?
We are growing,
Yeah,
and it's time to stop worrying about what people think about us, because there's the other person needs to hear what we have to say.
yes, yes. One thing that I just want to point out, when I was on stage, another thing that happened in that moment when I saw people crying was that I'm not, the self-conscious part of me left, because I realized I'm not here for me, I'm here for them.
Mm.
What I think about myself and how I look on stage and in this body has nothing to do with the value I'm here to provide for other people. So it's not about me. I'm not speaking for me. I'm not coaching for me. The way I show up is for you or everyone else. And they're not judging me or my body. They're just there to listen to what I have to say.
All right, that's the main key right there. That's the rock star goal, how we say in this show, that you just drop
Yeah.
right there. No, that is beautiful. That is powerful. That is so true. We're here for you. You're
Yeah.
here for them. The person. So don't worry about
Yeah.
don't
The
worry about
ego the
yourself.
ego wants us to be there for us and be like, oh, I'm gonna wear this, this is how I look, is my like whatever. But the soul is not there for that. The soul is there to serve. Yeah.
The soul is there to serve. Someone needs to write a song about that.
Hey,
Wow.
make sure you give me some credits if you do it.
Oh no, I've been doing now. It's probably gonna be a few months before I get to you because I'm like a few guests behind. But like every week now, I'm highlighting a different guest that I've had in the past, and
Mhm.
I'm going back and listening to the talk and pulling out a quote they said, and I put the quote on it. I have actually tomorrow I have one for Jonathan the Dean.
Mhm.
I got a quote from him, and I'm gonna post it. It's usually the picture and what episode they were on, but now I've been highlighting really good quotes from different guests because there's so much wisdom that we drop that we don't even know we
Yeah,
drop.
that it's really true. We
So
all have so much to offer. We just need to believe in it and continue to offer it.
that's right. That's
Hmm.
right. All right. Well, then let's go and move on with just since you've already dropped so much good value. So let's dig a little bit deeper. So now that you have been at this for well, I'm not too sure how long you've been, and it's not just the since we met, but I'm sure you've been speaking since way before then, and even in the healing and the artistry and that kind of business. Um, what have been some aha moments or some just big takeaways in so far in your journey as a author, speaker, coach, artist?
So some personal things. is that sometimes the people who you think are going to support you most in your journey are not.
That's good.
Okay? Sometimes your message is going to resonate with the complete opposite person you thought it's going to resonate with. Your ideal client cannot be attained by chasing them. They have to find you.
Yes.
And I'm learning that whenever I'm attached to a client because I know I can really help them, they don't sign up. But when I just show up for somebody who I feel that maybe we're not on the same wavelength or something, and I just show up, like very nonchalant, casual, that's when they really resonate with me more. Is because my energy is not attached to a particular outcome.
Yeah.
And so then the flow is much easy back and forth. Because there's people who I see on my social media who I know I can really help and I've reached out, but maybe they're just not in that space of being ready. And coming back to the imposter syndrome, or sometimes I think that there's so many other coaches better than me doing what I'm doing much better than me. Why would somebody want to work with me? The part is there are some people who are only going to resonate with my message the way I give it with my energy. And so there's plenty of people in the world who are going to need me or you, even though we're teaching the same exact thing. So that gives me a little bit more comfort. And I think one of my biggest things is to just not be attached to the outcome of what's going to happen with whoever I come into contact with.
So good. That's so good. Yeah, go in. That I can't say it any better. Don't be attached to an outcome. Just do that. Do you resonate the
Yeah,
energy, the
do
vibration
you?
you're meant to put out, and you're gonna attract those that you're meant to attract.
Yeah, and vulnerability is the actual biggest strength. Like the more I relay my real truth and openness out there in the world, the more people resonate with me because nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect. I'm still working on myself. I want to help people get to their healthy body, but I'm not at the weight that I want to be at. This is one of the other things. I'm like, I can't teach people to lose weight because I'm not where I want to be. But I have lost 160 pounds. And that's not. It is physical weight, yes, but my main message in that is that you have to lose the emotional weight to lose the physical weight. The physical weight is keeping you safe. Until you feel safe in your emotions yourself, your body is going to shed the weight because it doesn't need to keep you safe anymore.
Are we allowed to camp there? Are we allowed to pick at that a little bit?
Yes.
I would like to know, if you don't mind, could you clarify what could classify as emotional weight?
So childhood trauma,
Okay.
not feeling safe in your body, like not loving your body
Yeah.
or being connected to your sexuality. If you have issues with eating disorders, binge eating, emotional eating, if you're a procrastinator, if you're a perfectionist, definitely the inner child trauma, because we learn our coping mechanisms as a child. So, and then if we're one of the other big things in my life was, I stayed away from romantic relationships for such a long time because I didn't want any physical man to, be in my vicinity. So I feel like my body gained weight to be able to revoke people from that, right? But then when I was open to that, I still didn't feel safe. So once I felt safe in my own body, then I was more open to allowing, uh, opening myself up to relationships. But if you're not healed and you open yourself up to relationships, you act in very, destructive patterns like codependency, attention seeking, clinging, all those things. Because when you're in
Yeah.
trauma, you're going to hold on to anyone that comes into your life and not let go, which then eventually makes them leave, right?
Yeah.
But then if you're in need of like physical touch or somebody to hold you or hug you, and there's not a physical person to do that, then who's doing that for you? Your body and your weight.
Hmm. Ooh.
So if you're lacking in any area of your life emotionally, your body is going to provide that for you. So to get to your pure sovereignty, you want to provide everything for yourself. You want to learn to parent yourself. You want to learn to provide safety for yourself. You want to unconditionally love yourself. You want to connect to your sexuality. You want to get rid of everything around you energetically that is not serving your environment. Like you want to feel safe in your body. Like all these things, when you learn to do them for yourselves, the you automatically make healthy decisions for things that you're going to put in your body and how you're going to show up for your body on a daily basis.
That's a whole different podcast in and of itself, but that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it's funny because like I was sharing with you earlier before we started the show, I had to break up with procrastination on my end. No, actually I had to fire my procrastination. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so I can move forward with what I needed to get done in my life and my business such. And I can kind of attest to that. But amongst other things, this is not the first time I've had this conversation with people expressing how you got to get to know yourself very well,
Mm-hmm.
especially and coming from the background that I came in. I had another good friend of mine. We're kind of the same level. I bounce ideas off him all the time. He was telling me, well, what about pleasure? And like, well, what do you mean? Like, you got to teach people how to learn how to understand themselves and what brings them pleasure. Because
Mm-hmm.
at least the people in our circles, they weren't allowed that. It's a taboo thing. And I'm talking about like sexual pleasure or anything like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I didn't even thought about that. Maybe that is something that they need to understand too. Uh, and I don't know. It's just amazing stuff that I'm learning more and more as we get into psychology and
Mm-hmm.
how the mind works and
Mm-hmm.
and overcoming traumas and finding freedom to be yourself, to be your true self. Uh, but anyway, so we're not gonna stick around there too much longer. But I thank you for sharing that,
Of
and
course.
anyone who needed to hear that. Any other thoughts you want to throw in before we move on,
Regarding in this particular topic,
or whatever? Yeah.
yeah. No, that's one of my main things is that I really want to help people bring them back to their sovereignty, like how we were born. We were born pure, whole, and complete without needing validation, without, needing accomplishments, even in our body, exactly the way it is. Let's say you're like 500 pounds. If you don't love and accept yourself fully at that stage, you're never going to get to where you want to get to.
Mhm.
You have to be in radical acceptance that this is where I am. I am in deserving of love completely unconditionally at this state, even though my body is not societally or whatever acceptable or whatever. From that space, then you can create transformation for yourself. Because when I was at 375 pounds, I was doing it. I was losing weight and doing it, this and that, but it was from a place of hate.
Mm.
Then once I got cancer, I was like, oh my God, no matter what my body looks like and how unacceptable it is, I'm going to love it. And because I love it, this is how I'm going to show up for it. So it changes your like thought pattern, your mindset, everything on how you show up for yourself.
That is good.
And everything that you tell your body, like, I'm going to do this. If you look in the mirror, I'm going to do this. I hate you, blah, 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 blah. It listens
Yeah.
and it responds to what you're saying. So maybe I can add a little bit of a tip for people who struggle with body image at this moment.
I'll take him.
Okay.
I'll take you, Ted.
Okay. So an exercise I do every morning for myself, which I also tell my clients, is that for 2 minutes straight, you have to stand naked in front of your mirror every morning. If the thoughts of judgment come, let them come. If you want to cry and you hate your body, do it. But the more you do it, the more you're going to accept it. And the more you accept it, and the other thing I do is I visualize myself with my 4-year-old standing next to me. And I tell myself, if she was saying these things to herself, that I hate you, you're ugly, whatever, what would what would I say to her to comfort her? And those are the things I say to myself, because
Mhm.
we all need to and deserve to be cared for, like a scared 4-year-old who feels unhappy with themselves. And when we care for ourselves that way, our body would respond.
Is powerful. Now, when you said right now, the way you said it, I thought you meant like you had a 4-year-old, but you meant your 4-year-old version of yourself.
My little girl, I visualize my 4-year-old self next to me.
I have a story about that. I'm not gonna go through it all. I can tell you later, but like I did a whole episode on it when it's called
Hmm.
Sozo, the power of healing through forgiveness, and it was when that moment where I had to confront my childhood self, and break certain words that I accepted and had been internalized in my subconscious. Because, like, ladies and gentlemen, your subconscious doesn't know the difference between um, what is real and what is not. What is said, what is felt, is what it recognizes as real. And so you need to learn how to speak the life you want. You need to learn. You can reprogram your subconscious,
Hmm.
but you got to learn. You got to learn how to. I love what you're saying. I might actually start putting that to practice myself.
Hmm.
I have to kick the cat out of my room. Like, get out. No,
Well, try it out and let me know how you feel. It's not an easy practice. It's a tough practice. Yeah.
it is. And I have this huge mirror that I brought back from Nashville back to Texas, and I love them big old wall mirrors, and I don't know, I love having a huge mirror in my room, so I'll be able to see it all. See, anyway, let's
And
move on.
it's all wonderful and it's all perfect.
It's all amazing. I have a I've said this before on my show, just being just silly, but
Hmm.
also I don't want to say I'm arrogant, but like I have that. Well, you've gotten to know me, how playful I am, how fun I
Yeah,
am.
yeah.
I can say stuff like this, and you won't take it as I'm all about myself. But there was a saying that I tell everyone, like, if it wasn't for my humility, I would be the perfect man. So
That's awesome.
we'll move on for that one. Thank you for sharing the just things that you've learned, and those are some great takeaways. I have to go back and re-listen to these things.
Mhm.
So just moving on, we have a few more minutes left. Just let us know what big goals you have coming up, or what are you working on that we should be looking out for.
Okay, so well, at this moment, I would love to write my own book. I
Hmm.
maybe it's in the works. It's just started, so it's in the works. I am launching a 3-month coaching program called Unveil the Real You. So it's a group program that talks about all the things we talked about today: weight loss, body image, inner child healing, forgiveness. Writing a love letter to yourself, clearing your energy around letting go of things that you're holding on to from the past, and just returning back really to your sovereignty. And I do this with art and meditation and coaching. So we have a meditation session, and then we have a little coaching about it, and then we create art on whatever came through in the meditation. So you're actually taking your emotions and putting them on a surface that is outside of yourself. And you don't have to be an artist to create this. You just self-express, which is people still create beautiful art not knowing how to do it.
Mm.
So that's a 3-month coaching program. Then I have a one-on-one coaching program that I teach. I'm going to be going down to Arizona to teach a class there, which is very exciting. And my big goal, if I'm like super successful, not if, when,
When?
okay, when. I would love to have a center where I'm teaching art, meditation, and healing, and you know, just taking care of your body and soul, and maybe traveling the world speaking, and being a New York Times bestselling author.
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Those are
so
good goals.
those are some of the big goals.
And so, right now, under your name, you have Nafsheen.com. Will people just be able to find access to all that, going to that? Or if you want to be found, how can people find you?
My website is a great place to find me, but I'm really responsive on Facebook Messenger and Instagram Messenger. I also have a TikTok, which should be more active soon.
Yeah, I got one too. But if you just go
I
there,
know,
all the stuff I'm recycling from everywhere else, just to
I
have
know,
something
I know.
different now. But eventually, once I grow big enough, I will have other people working the different things for me, automate it
Yeah.
all, and just bring them all to the platforms that I desire to help others at. No, Nafsheen, thank you so much for just showing up today, for bringing your story, for just bringing so much um, great value that people can start using today, um, and understand how the trauma that happens in our lives is can become the tool that we need for our breakthrough, for our next level up, or whatever it is. um I was about to quote something, but we'll say for after we get off the camera, because some
Okay.
people I might lose some people on this one. uh, I was just thinking about a cartoon I saw, like, oh yeah, that makes sense, but I don't want people to know how much of a nerd I am. But
Nerds are perfect. It's nerds that make the world go round
that
because
is true, that is
we're
true.
we're the smart people. We're just here to make things look pretty.
All right. One thing I forgot to mention for those of you who are watching Hey Rockstar for the first time is that Hey Rockstar is a storytelling platform. We exist to bring the stories from leaders, from entrepreneurs, they helping them or giving them a place to share their story, their struggles, what they've learned, the lessons. It's all in the name of inspiration and value for you, the listener, the watcher, the viewer, who are looking for that next new thing they want to venture out in their lives. Whether you're trying to become an entrepreneur or a leader, we hope that you come and find a well of value that you can learn. Maybe that one little tidbit that you need to move on. One thing I forgot to mention is if you had shown up and you wanted to add a comment, you're more than welcome to, and we would highlight it. I didn't do this at the very beginning, but from the very beginning, Jacob Bruce, he's a fellow entrepreneur, financial service provider. He said, "Let's go." He's a financial professional, and of course, he's excited for the show. Thank you, Jacob. He also was a guest of my show. It was last season, actually, season 3. And then, so a blast from the past. This is a traveling musician, artist, Rico Tomas, or Thomas. I call him Rico Tomas. He's a native in Nashville, but he was on my show back in season 2 or possibly season 1. I'm gonna try to get him for the reunion tour that we're trying to do. But other than that, just a shout out to everyone. Thank you for jumping on the show today. I'm going to put the shades on to give our final goodbyes. I want to say thank you to all you who made time to let us into your homes. Thank you for letting us into your cars. Just thank you for letting us into your hearts. We hope that you took all this, that you can take all this and apply it to your walk, your life, so that you can then go and become the rock star of your industry, of your business, of your amazing life. Any final words, Nasheen, before I sign off?
I'm just so grateful for this opportunity, and for anyone listening, I want to tell them that you have all the power in the world to become your own inspiration.
Perfect. Perfect words. So, all the way from California and all the way from the studio in Andrews, Texas. Until next time, we want to wish you all much love and many blessings.